following is an exclusive presentation of Blaze Sports.
All right, pack it up, pack it in. Let us begin. Coming to you live today from beautiful Tempe, Arizona, Memorial Union. Today it's another edition of Blaze Game Day. I'm AJ Goncalves. I'm joined by Sebastian Friar. Sebastian, it's a terrific Thursday always, but it becomes even better when we get to record this edition of Blaze Game Day.
Well, I'll tell you what, AJ, Mill Avenue is not the only good thing here in Tempe. It is ASU sports just as well. ASU football coming off an incredible win against Texas Tech. Fans stormed the field. And guess what? Also, ASU volleyball, they stay scorching hot.
Yeah, if there's an ASU sport, the odds are we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk a little bit about basketball towards the end of the show. We're going to get some hockey in today. We're going to talk about volleyball. They just keep winning. But we're going to start it out with ASU football. Why don't we do that? They're playing Houston this weekend, Mountain America Stadium, Tempe. It's going to be rocking, but they're going to be rocking without a certain individual, and his name is Jordan Tyson, one of the best receivers in the country. Is unfortunately going to miss this game for the Sun Devils. So, Sebastian, I ask you the question right out of the gate here. How do the Sun Devils respond without having arguably their best player on the football field?
Well, AJ, you simply can't replace a projected top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft. But if you look at the rest of the offense and the things that started going positive for them, they started spreading the football out. And it starts by getting Jaron Hamilton involved, Mateer involved, Raleigh Brown as well. So I think it's going to reflect on those guys stepping up for sure. But it's going to start by keeping the football on the ground, in my opinion, whether it's by Sam Levitt and his dynamic play set with his legs, or even Raleigh Brown running as hard as he's been all year long. That's a guy I have big belief in.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what gets me more excited than a great offense? A defense that can absolutely fly around, make tackles, and create turnovers. That's the key this year for the Sun Devils. When they create turnovers, the odds are they're winning football games.
You can really see that Kenny Dillingham and Brian Ward style of play, right? The physical up front, we're going to bully you until you basically just say, we're done, we don't want anything else to do with you. They keep turning the football over, opposing offenses do against this defense. But it's really phenomenal, and it all starts, we look at that matchup against Texas Tech, right? And they were one of the best rushing offenses going into that one, and all of a sudden, what? They don't do anything because that ASU defensive front is winning the battle. And it all starts up there, right? Those big guys, and I think that's exactly I'll say kind of the aura of that defense, right? It all starts up front with the big guys dominating.
Yeah, so someone came up to me today and said, AJ, why are there so many scouts at ASU practice, especially without Jordan Tyson on the field? And you have to talk about one man in the secondary. You know his name for sure. It's Keith Abney, because this guy is an absolute unit. He's going to be a first-round pick if I'm betting today.
Well, if you had a little TV back there, AJ, I'll take you through a little film study of Keith Abney, and it's him locking down opposing number one receivers. That's all the guy does, and that's what comes with being a cornerback number one, right? You're going to face a lot of adversities and uphill battles against some of these very talented receivers we see across the country. But Keith Abney's one of those guys that can limit those guys or even take them out of the game.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's time to get to the game pick. That's right. Both I and Sebastian Friar are going to break this one down. I'm going to go 28-17 for the Sun Devils. I think that Houston offense comes up a little bit short. And let me tell you one thing. Brian Ward's got these guys flying around. The momentum they got from last week is going to sustain. This team is a serious Big 12 contender. And if everything goes well, they'll be back in a Big 12 championship game competing for a chance to go to the college football playoff.
Let's talk about the Houston Cougars real quick as well, because they are no team you can really breeze right by, right? They're not the team that they were last year. They're much better now. Their only loss coming against Texas Tech, who by many people still think that is the best team in the Big 12. So now they have their biggest road test, right? Arizona State. They're looking for a signature win. They're being hungry. They're really being overlooked because they're not even ranked inside the top 25 with a 6-1 record. So Arizona State has to take them seriously. It's not going to be an easy game. Final score, my prediction, ASU is going to win it 28-24, kind of similar to last year in Family Weekend when ASU had a tight one against Kansas. Jordan Tyson helped them win that one. This time it's going to be Sam Levitt and Raleigh Brown through the ground. ASU will outlast and outduel Houston.
Yeah, coming up Saturday, Houston versus ASU. What a fun matchup. But coming up next, we're going to get the sticks out. We're going to drop the pucks. And we're not going to drop the gloves, though. We won't fight. But we do have ASU hockey coming up. They're a little bit cold. How do they get back to usual temperature, which is red hot? We'll tell you how they do it. Coming up next, it's Blaze Game Day right here at Blaze Radio. Welcome back to Blaze Game Day. It's time to drop the pucks and talk about some ASU hockey. They've been rather cold lately, Sebastian.
Yes, and ASU hockey. I wasn't a big hockey guy entering this university. I'm a sophomore now, but my freshman year here was quite a show, AJ. This hockey team went out there and they dueled against the best teams in the country, starting with Denver, then off to Western Michigan. They beat those teams. So far this year, they had a tough time beating those top-tier teams, especially Penn State when they came here in the opening weekend. They put on some pretty tight battles, but all of a sudden in the third period, things started to fall apart, didn't they?
Absolutely. And for this ASU team, listen, they were given a gauntlet right out of the gate. Penn State playing a guy like Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the surefire #1 pick in next year's NHL draft. A lot of talent there. And that was a good evaluation series to see where they were at. But since that series, it really hasn't gone the way you thought it would. I mean, they did beat Notre Dame, yes, but they did lose the next two games. And I think what's going to be key here for the Arizona State Sun Devils is they have this little bit of a break stretch. They haven't played a game from the 2 losses to Halloween. So you get an opportunity to reevaluate the program, see where you're at after the gauntlet that started out. I mean, I can't get over that, how they played Penn State right out of the gate. It might be the worst time to get a team like that, especially for Arizona State, the See How You Are series. But the key for this team this year is obviously going to be beating NCHC teams.
And AJ, you mentioned, 17 new players this ASU team has. So it's going to take time to really get going. And having Penn State right off the gate is just a nightmare matchup. Let's be real with that one. Greg Powers is a great recruiter. He's brought a lot of talent to this ASU team. I guarantee you they're going to be playing better hockey come January. It's going to take time. You can't just bring in 17 new players and think that's going to just mesh right away and they're going to pick up right where they left off last year. It's going to start clicking. Just give it a little bit of time. Things are getting better here in Tempe.
Yeah, but let's just be real about it too, right? There's a lot of talent on this team still. Cullen Potter is a first-round draft pick. He was drafted in the first round last year. Cruz Lucius, a Pittsburgh Penguins product. There are many NHL draft prospects on this team. They have to play better. It is a bottom-line business, and I'm going to keep it a buck with you, like Cam Ward once said. The bottom line is ASU hockey, they have to play better. They've got to be forechecking. They have to play defense, and they have to get the little things right. And this year, too, quite frankly, if I'm just going to be honest, I was there covering the Penn State series. The whole we go into the third period with the lead. You have to close out games. In hockey, it is ever more important to close out games, especially the top-ranked teams. And the Arizona State Sun Devils were unable to do that against Penn State twice. They had leads going into the third period 2 times, and they lost both games. So I'm sure that's something that Greg Powers is going to work out with his guys.
And AJ, you mentioned the word, consistency and kind of with Arizona State keeping it going, right? And Greg Powers, that's a guy that's under some type of pressure right now. Great year last year. But you got a lot of talent on this roster. You got to start it going, right? You got to get it going eventually. And you mentioned the bottom line business, right? And when you're not winning, people are not going to be happy. Especially here in Tempe, people are starting to get worried about this ASU hockey team. It's going to take time. But, sooner rather than later, you definitely want to start picking it up and showing some results.
We're going to have big teams coming up on their schedule, too. They're going to start getting into the NCHC. They got the Big Ten teams like Ohio State coming in here as well. So going to be a fun rest of the way here for this Sun Devil hockey team. And again, we're only in October, so still plenty of time left to turn things around for Greg Powers' bunch. But coming up next, we're going to start to do the little bit of the variety special. We're going to get to some ASU volleyball, and we're also going to touch in on ASU soccer. We're going to do both of those things coming up next right here on Blaze Game Day.
The following is an exclusive presentation of Blaze Sports.
Welcome back here to Blaze Game Day. AJ Goncalves, Sebastian, Friar. Let's get right into it once more. ASU volleyball, because boy, oh boy, Mr. Friar, do they keep on winning.
They sure do, AJ, and I came out here in the previous weeks when we did this first edition of Blaze Game Day and said, this is the best team in the university, and it sure is. They're still doing it. They just simply don't lose conference games, and they compete with the best of the best. They really do, don't they, AJ?
Let's talk about the coach, because frankly, I think that J.J. Van Niel is making the case to be the best coach on this campus, and that might be crazy to say when Kenny Dillingham is here and he has resurrected the football program, taken it out of the Herm Edwards ground and brought it back to life. But listen, all that Van Niel does is win. And there are great players on this team. Yes, I am a Naomi Glover truther. I think she is legit and as legit comes. But what J.J. Van Niel has done, making this team a national championship contender, will not go underrated on this show because I proclaimed it now. J.J. Van Niel is not just a dog. Everyone wants to be calling dogs these days. J.J. Van Niel's a wolf. He is doing a great job with this Sun Devil volleyball team. But ultimately, it also results in the players because, frankly, he has good players to work with.
Yeah, there's definitely a wolf list. I think he has to be at the top of that list. Isn't that right, AJ?
They're howling, man. They're howling in
They're
Tempe these
absolutely
days.
howling in Tempe at the Desert Financial Arena. They're getting a new renovation in that arena, and it is very much thanks to this great volleyball team and how good they've been in the last couple of years. It's all led by a very good, talented roster as well, but when the coach is able to just put all those players together and produce the product out there with his schemes, with his tactics, it just all looks even better.
So what's the hope from here for ASU volleyball? Obviously, the goal is to win a national title. That may or may not happen. But what do you want to see with this volleyball team going down the stretch of the season?
I want to see this volleyball team just compete with the best of the best. We've seen them play against Texas this year. We've seen them play against Pitt. It didn't go exactly according to plan, but I want to see this team make a deep tournament run. I think they were definitely a little disappointed how early they went out last year. If you can keep pushing and if you can get into the best 8 teams in the country and just settle it in there with all those top dogs out there, I would feel pretty proud about this volleyball team.
Well, the vibes are immaculate there. The vibes not so much immaculate with ASU soccer right now. A little bit of a tailspin from where they were. I remember we did this show 3 weeks ago with Jordan Talley. Unfortunately, she's not here today. We did it 3 weeks ago, and we felt so confident about ASU women's soccer saying they're back. They cleaned up a lot of the mistakes they made a year ago, and now it feels like those 3 weeks have come and gone, and we're back in the same position we were a year ago saying, wow, they're very undisciplined. The energy is not always there sometimes, and it just feels like we're just doing the repeated motion of where we were in 2024.
Yeah, AJ, it's starting to feel a little bit like deja vu, isn't it? Like, you could do it last year. You start off strong out of conference. You're beating all these teams. Even early in conference play, you surprise some people. Beat BYU, right? They were ranked at the time. And then all of a sudden things start falling apart. You start dropping results, especially here at home, to a team like Oklahoma State 0-0. And then I had a chance to cover the Texas Tech game, and it was a phenomenal game of soccer played. They were down 2-0 at the half. They come out, tied up at 2, and then Texas Tech ends up winning it at the very end of the game. And it was just a tale of two halves, in my opinion, with ASU. Can you get consistency through 90 minutes? They come out pretty lazy. They don't really high press too much, and they just wait for the game to come towards them. But now when they're down 2-0, you have to push the game toward the opponent. You have to take chances. You have to start being aggressive. And I just want to see them be aggressive for 90 minutes. It's just something that Graham Wingsworth, I think, lacks a little bit. He's just too calm when the game's just either level or tie or when they're up. He's just way too calm with them. This team, when they play at their best, is when they're aggressive, when they're pressing up high and forcing the opposing defenses to make mistakes. They capitalize off of that, but they're just simply not doing that during the whole game.
What are the X factors for this ASU team going forward that they can sort of lean on to at least close the season and say, okay, we're doing this and this much better than where we were a year ago?
I think it's more so about getting that midfield to play at the high level that they can possibly play at, right? Because that's how games are controlled at the end of the day. It's the bottom line of soccer. If you don't have a strong midfield, you're going to struggle to control the whole flow of the game. I think their defense is going to be just fine. They're a strong bunch. They're mentally tough back there. And I think the attackers, when they get the chance to score, they will do it, but it's all up to the midfield. Can they win balls? Can they push the ball forward? I think that's something that we have to see, and that's a question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where the state of the union is with soccer and volleyball. Coming up on the flip side, we are going to wrap this thing up. We are going to talk some hoops. That's right. We'll turn it over to the court, and we're going to talk about ASU basketball. Men's and women's teams, both with really new identities and both, it seems like, trending in different directions. We're going to touch it on that to close out the show. Coming up next. We're closing it out with hoops today on Blaze Game Day. ASU men's basketball, why don't we start there? Because frankly, I think the word culture is not used enough right now there. I feel like for the women's team, they have culture. They're building it. Molly Miller in her first year as the new head coach. They got to figure it out, and they have to figure it out fast. Bobby Hurley has 1 year left on his contract, and frankly, I'm on an initiative this year, man, okay? Bring back basketball, the BBB narrative, man. I'm pushing it. You know, politicians are going to run for campaigns. I'm doing the Bring Back Basketball campaign to Tempe because, listen to this. Could you imagine March Madness in Tempe? We got crazy for college football and the college football playoff, and rightfully so. But could you just sit there for a minute and fantasize about having March Madness basketball? Because frankly, I can. It would be amazing. So that's my big rant for the day. But nonetheless, men's basketball, they got to figure it out.
Well, AJ, guess what? You got my vote because I don't know if I can deal with this current basketball climate that we're living in. So let's get it going, right? Molly Miller's an exciting hire from GCU. She did a great job out there last year. And Bobby Hurley, while, yes, they were disappointing last year, he's back for his final year of his deal. It's a pretty new team, right? A lot of unknowns. Unfortunately, lost to UC Irvine a couple days ago. That's a pretty darn good basketball team over there. So gotta give the respects to them. And this team, could we see a couple surprises from them? We'll see.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about this men's basketball team other than to say they have a lot of new players. They have a coach who has 1 year left on his deal, which is the low-hanging fruit is to say they don't really believe in him, so he has 1 year left on his deal. But I don't know. Could they pull off some stunners and see something down the stretch? I just don't know. I think there's a lot. I think the Big 12 got a lot better. That's going to be my thing heading into this year. I think getting AJ DeBansa to BYU is a huge addition for them. I think there's a lot of teams who got really a lot better. I just don't know if ASU got to that level, if that makes sense.
I think we're going to have to see a lot of surprises, like I just mentioned with ASU. They're going to have to really step up to the competition. The Big 12, it's one of the best basketball conferences in the whole country. There's definitely no secret about that. You have Houston, you mentioned BYU already, and the list just goes on and on with that conference. And for ASU, especially Bobby Hurley, we see the attitude, we see the tough guy, the tough love. Well, how about we start applying that into the basketball court? Can they be the bad boys of the Big 12? Can they be the physical bunch that no one wants to come and play because there are a bunch of pests, 5 different pests just running all over the court and making life hard for opponents?
Yeah, let's go flip it over to ASU women's basketball. It just feels like night and day compared to like the emotion, and there is real juice around this women's basketball team with Molly Miller now at the helm, night and day compared to where we were a year ago already. And this team hasn't even stepped on the floor yet, and I think that's a great thing for Sun Devils fans. Like, I think this year, there's going to be a lot more incentive to going to Arizona State women's basketball and seeing this team play. But that's my 2 cents. What do you think?
No disrespect to ASU basketball for the women's side last year, but it was an absolute disaster. Let's just straight up not sugarcoated. Molly Miller, bringing her in, I think she brings a lot of solutions. I think not only is she a great coach, she can be a great recruiter, she can be a great role model for this whole university. I'm very much looking forward to the product they're going to put out there, and very excited with this new season just about to tip off. Women's basketball, men's basketball, you mentioned the whole political campaign. Basketball is such a huge sport in this country, especially at the collegiate level. Let's get some juice going.
I'm in for it, man. I am really in for it. It would have me feeling really nicey, but I just don't know if we're going to get there, man. That's going to be the question. We're going to have to see. Sebastian Friar, honored to work with you here today, here on this beautiful Thursday, and really getting to have another episode of Blaze Game Day.
Over that little Thursday evening action, Blaze Game Day, let's just keep it rolling on and on, week in, week out. It's an awesome show to be a part of. Thank you to everyone.
You going to the game on Saturday?
I will very much think about it. I have a couple things to do, but guess what? Nothing's more important than ASU football. So guess what? I will be there.
All right, I love it, man. I love it. I'll be there up in the booth, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, that's all we got here for Blaze Game Day. For Sebastian Friar, I'm AJ Goncalves saying so long from the desert. We'll see you next week right here on Blaze Game Day. Bye-bye.